Welcome to the We Founders podcast. We are women entrepreneurs, founders, and investors sharing our stories about how we raise funds, invest, and build our businesses from the Western Balkans. I'm your host, Gaia Montelatici, General Partner at Studio X Ventures. Welcome, everyone, to our new podcast of the We Founder series. And we're here today with Kannika. It's a great pleasure to introduce her to our community. Kannika is program lead from Wikimedia Germany and the Unlock Accelerator. And the IMPA Hub is so excited about partnering with this great organization and in expanding the opportunity of the Unlock Accelerator to the Western Balkans as well. Kannika has led the previous iterations, and we want to talk today about what free media is, free knowledge is, what is happening into the space, and what is it, and why is it so important for us nowadays in a world where we have access to internet, and our assumption is that we have access to a diverse channels to knowledge. Kannika, welcome, and please, if you can take 1 minute to talk about yourself a little bit more, and then address the question of free knowledge.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here as well. And yes, as Gaia said, I'm Kannika. I'm from Wikimedia Germany, or the German chapter of the global movement Wikimedia. I think most of you listening, watching right now came across the encyclopedia Wikipedia, and Wikimedia is basically the organization behind the project. Wikipedia is just one of the many projects that we support. And Wikimedia Germany is one of the almost 40 organization or chapters, as we call it, and user groups within this global movement of people who fight for free knowledge, who fight for creating access to knowledge and education, to information and data around the world. And yes, I am leading an innovation program called Unlock, or the Wikimedia Accelerator. And I think as an organization, we also want to move and drive forward to stay relevant. And this program is exactly addressing this to look into new and innovative ideas and projects that can drive this movement for free knowledge, for access to information, to data, to knowledge, to the whole, things that we should know about in this world, and to drive this further in addition to the existing projects that we already have.
Thank you, Kannika. And when we say free, we mean accessible, we mean that we don't have to pay for it. What do we mean about it being free? We mean that it needs to be diverse, open, right?
Yeah. I think you captures almost all. I think for us Wikimedia, and probably for the whole open and free knowledge movement, in which Wikimedia as an organization is also into, free and open knowledge, we mean knowledge that you can freely access, use, modify, and share, free of charge for everyone at any time. And as I said, the best known source for free knowledge is the free online encyclopedia, Wikipedia.
Right. So what are the barriers to free knowledge today?
Yes, I think you were right to say in the beginning to think of that, hey, come on, we are in 2022 and we do have access. And if we look closer into this, a lot of knowledge is still closed. And I think knowledge has a history of being closed. Wikipedia, as a free online encyclopedia, just turned 20 last year. This means that a lot of knowledge has been closed until then. And those who could financially afford it need to buy books to look up information. And yes, time change. We have been experiencing kind of digital transformation that provides access to knowledge to various platforms with tons of information, pictures, videos, and other forms of data. And still, some knowledge or most knowledge is still closed behind paywalls, closed until you as a user give your personal data to the platform, close to those who seek it the most. And so making knowledge free is also about the distribution or redistribution of knowledge in our connected society, about the unequal representation of, for instance, women, BIPOC, or other marginalized groups in politics, in the media, in technology, as well as in projects such as Wikipedia as well.
Yeah, so this is a big systemic problem, right? Because you're talking about the authors of knowledge, you're talking about their voices and their content, but you're talking also about the way that they can reach out to audiences and, as you said, the channels that you use to do so. So Unlock Accelerator as such actually looks for solutions in all of these sort of different areas. Yes, that's true. So it's on both sides, right? We look for people who also represents those who have not yet access to this. We look for creative and change makers and social innovators from the groups that I just mentioned, women, BIPOC, marginalized group, those who had not access to bring in their great ideas because there wasn't room for them to bring it in. So for these people, yes, please join us. But also we look for projects that create access for underrepresented groups as well. So we try to have this program to address both sides, opening a room, opening the opportunity, support environment for people who don't have access to such a support environment, but also to support and promote free knowledge projects that give consumers, users, the access to knowledge that they haven't had before. Yeah, so it's a total democratization on one hand of like users of knowledge, but also the creators of knowledge. And it also requires a lot of technical talents to do so in order for us to find ways to sort of hack what is existing and provide for venues, in the digital world that can make knowledge more accessible. I think it's both. I think it could be obviously technical innovations, technical ideas. I think also from this perspective of what type of formats are out there. I mean, Wikipedia has proved to be one of the social innovations, but it is also text format, it is written format, it is very academic. So it's just one side of knowledge that is available.
What about audio? What about podcasts that we are doing here right now, right? What about video? What are other formats of knowledge, or what are other formats that can bring content and knowledge to the people? This is something that we are really want to get more creative ideas into that, and not just stay with the status quo, but rather really look into all this different type of knowledge and content format that is being created right now in 2022, or even looking forward. And on the other side, I think it's also about maybe social innovation, things that are not necessarily technical. When we look about how to bring in people, more diverse people, into a kind of creation process, into a knowledge creation process, what are the standards there? What could be a kind of fair and inclusive condition? Not only talking with typical people on the same table and discussing, but maybe also bringing in other voices, and then create the content, create the knowledge that represents the diversity in the world that we have.
Right. How do you see, you've been running Unlock Accelerator for the past couple of years, right? So what do you see that has maybe changed, at least at the level of Europe, right, where you've been mostly operating lately? Do you see progress in that sense, from the perspective of knowledge creators, from the perspective of the public, from the perspective maybe of some policy happening? To be honest, I really do think that there's a lot more awareness on the topic, and I do see that Europe does attempt to sort of mainstream some of the best practices in this area.
Yeah, I mean, our projects that we supported are, they started with us, they launched their first products and services, so they are on the way in the whole innovation and in their journey, basically. So I think creating systematic change would probably requires more time for them to be on the market and to be, out there. But nevertheless, I think what we've could done is, on the one hand, we could actually provide the support environment for them to grow. And what we could see is, on the one hand, we have some technical innovative ideas. We had this one project called Audiopedia, who created a platform for audio content, but not specifically about academic stuff or a long text that is being available on audio, but rather really day-to-day information, like what do I do in terms of health, in terms of nutrition, in terms of even the coronavirus and the pandemic situation. So obviously their focus group, or their target groups, is the global south. Their target groups are those who may not be able to read, and so they are really highly dependent on audio format to gain access, to get the information that they need. And this is something what they created. It doesn't sound new for the first time, but I think that the concept or the technical innovation behind it, that they basically use the same software as Wikipedia does, so that, which is MediaWiki, so that they can actually create it kind of a variety of languages that is being out there. And I think for us, we just assume everyone can speak English, but it's not the case, right? So with this, they actually could already create around 15 languages, just so that people can listen to, they can actually and understand what they need to know. And this is something I think that this type of creating new format is so important, because we cannot just assume from the Western perspective that everybody can read, speak English or whatever, and can have access to this. This is one side, and on the other side, I think we had, and this is where I think I'm very excited about this, is also a younger generation joining the program, people who just, completed their bachelor's and master's, who are really active in saying in concrete areas like politics, to bring it to their peers, to their generation, to talk about, hey, how can, on the one hand, make politics more digestible, maybe even fun, with formats that the younger generation, the Generation Z and Y, actually is interesting to. They don't go to podium and panel discussions. They don't read 20 pages essays or whatsoever. They might not be, they are not consuming the way we or even our parents or, older generation used to. So they find with an app and other platforms, new format to get the younger generation into politics, to activate them. To make it fun to read or listen to what do politicians talk about, what are they debating, what regulations are being discussed or being, bringing out to be executed, all this stuff. So I think this is something that it is, it's step by step, but it's step by step in the direction of creating access to information, but also empowering people through the projects.
Thank you, Kannika, for this, because actually the issue you just raised is very relevant for the Western Balkans. And one of the challenges that we are posing to the new innovators is to come out with ways to allow and enable and empower young people here to be more active in their cities, at the policy level, to go more to the polls, and to be more active change makers of today's reality they can act upon. It is very true that we do see a lot of younger generations being alienated from these processes because they don't feel part of it, they don't feel valued, they don't feel it relates to them, they don't feel they can do much about it. And so actually bringing them back to the table, asking them and finding the new formats and the new ways to include them is critical. And I'm really happy that you raised the issue, because it is not so intuitively linked to free knowledge, right? But it actually so much contributes to our everyday life in those terms. So absolutely. So, for our last question, I would love to ask you, you already brought up some very good examples of what you have been working with, and the innovations that are growing through the Unlock. If you can just give a message to the innovators and the software engineers and the students, and the designers that we all want to reach out to, and we're reaching out to here in Serbia and the Western Balkans, what would you tell them? Why should they become part of our great movement?
I think it's a chance to to all of us, and not only us like the organizer, but also for those who want to join, to create something, something long lasting, to create an impact that isn't just taken for granted, but it isn't. And I think that this free knowledge movement is fighting for something so critical, something that is, to me, a human right to have access to knowledge, to have access to education, to have access to information and data. And I think we all know that knowledge is power, but I would love to reframe it as free knowledge is empowerment. And so just join this really, really great movement, the global movement, to create the future of free knowledge together.
Well, thank you so much, Kannika.
Thank you.
And as you know, we will be hosting a meetup on Thursday the 12th, addressing more in details with the young entrepreneurs and the innovators and the software engineers, all of the line of actions that we want to include for the unlock that actually will take place very soon. And it's going to start already from late June, early July. So it's really the time to join us, to come up, to let us know what your ideas and solutions are, and just reach out to us to apply. So we're really looking forward to seeing you all, also in our first meetup, to get to know you better and get some more information and practices out there for you to have a handle of. Kannika, thank you so much. And I'm really delighted that we are in this journey together. So I will see you very, very soon next week already.
Yes, we do. And thanks a lot for having me.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for watching WeFounders podcast. My name is Alex Proničić and I will be co-host this season. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter.